First at noon, 3 bills were signed into law today to help city agencies crack down on illegal game rooms. Leaders say it's a critical step to improve public safety, especially along the Waianae coast.
Bill 11 is actually creating fines for gambling devices. Bill 12 strengthens the relationship between DPP and HPD when we crack down on building code violations. And Bill 13 specifically addresses that landlords and makes it more formal that landlords work with HPD.
Honolulu prosecutor Steve Alm said illegal game rooms are an island-wide problem and that more than 60 operations have been shut down in the last year. He says these new laws will help strengthen their efforts. Meanwhile, HPD raided this game room in Kaka'ako yesterday. They executed a search warrant at the illegal gambling operation near Kauaiha'o Street. Officers recovered 16 gambling machines, $5,200 cash, and possible drugs. And during the search, 2 suspects were arrested for promoting and possessing a gambling device, as well as other drug-related charges. 1 suspect was arrested for contempt of court. The Honolulu Police Department, meanwhile, has a new interim chief. Rade Vanic is a longtime leader of the organization, but he was not Mayor Blangiardi's first pick. Here's what the mayor had to say today.
Rade and I exchanged texts last night, and I told him I would work with him and support him, and looking forward to the road ahead.
Mayor Blangiardi says he hopes the selection process for a permanent chief will be done efficiently. Meanwhile, Ben Gutierrez has more on the police commission's decision and what the outgoing chief won't talk about.
The commission had 8 candidates to pick from, including Hawaii County Police Chief Ben Moskowitz, who had been recommended by Mayor Rick Blangiardi. But in the end, commission members decided to follow the city charter and pick the deputy chief with the most experience.
For the commission to have the faith in me to lead committed officers and civilians that come to work every single day, it's a real honor.
Rade Vanic has been with HPD more than 25 years and has previously served as interim chief before Joe Logan was named to the post.
I don't want to do too much different. I don't want to come in and just upheave everything. I do want to create some type of stability.
That stability comes after Logan's departure after just 3.5 years on the job.
Right now, I'm not going to discuss the conversation and what led to the point in time of my departure.
A total of 8 people applied to be interim police chief, including Ben Moskowitz. The former HPD major even went so far as to send a letter to his department saying he was leaving to take over as interim chief after Mayor Rick Blangiardi recommended him for the job.
There was no influence. I respect the mayor and I respect the responsibility that he has, and he was just making a recommendation, which we appreciate.
Bottom line is the charter gives the commission the authority to hire and fire the police chief. It's their choice. It doesn't tell them how to do it. It doesn't tell them, give them any explicit direction.
Retired Deputy Chief John McCarthy says the commission could have picked anyone who met the qualifications. And even just the temporary appointment is a tough one for a department that has, among other things, a high number of vacant officer positions.
It's probably the most important decision they have to make for an interim at this point because the department has so much problems that they need to address. The interim can't just keep the ship afloat.
The commission is expected to take 6 months to a year to name a permanent replacement. Moskowitz has expressed interest, so has Vanic, who lost out to Logan last time around.
I'm not looking at whether I'm going to apply. Right now, I'm just focused on getting the job done.
Vanic takes over July 16th. Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
On the Big Island, BJ Penn was back in a Hilo courtroom yesterday. The UFC Hall of Famer is charged with 3 crimes, including allegedly assaulting his mother and violating a restraining order that bars him from contacting his family or returning to his family home in Hilo. In a video Penn posted on social media before the hearing, he explained he thought he had permission from his brother to return to drop off clothes.
I texted GD and let him know that I was going back to my room, being that the hotel cost was expensive. He didn't say no, don't go, and I was under the impression that I could return to the property.
Penn still does not have an attorney. The judge advised him yesterday to hire one or get a public defender. His case is also being transferred to circuit court with a jury trial set for July 2nd. Hawaii's Attorney General gave an update today on how the state is trying to improve its wildfire safety efforts. And Lopez was joined by fire and research experts to share progress on the Phase 3 recommendations from the Lahaina fire investigation.
As part of that work, we are collaborating with the Maui Fire Department and others to complete their community risk assessments and standards of cover. The analysis will identify where the risks to the community are and how the fire department can effectively address them.
We ask everybody to do their part, work on their homes, and help your neighbors. This really is an ecosystem that we have to adjust to learn to live in.
That's the new State Fire Marshal Dory Booth, who now officially takes the lead on future wildfire analysis, mitigation, and coordination efforts. And the 2-year anniversary of the wildfire on August 8th is the statute of limitations deadline for anyone who plans to claim part of the $4 billion settlement. Most of that money will go to about 3,000 people represented individually by lawyers. A judge has set aside $165 million for everyone else represented as a group. That will require fewer lawyer hours, less paperwork, and less evidence of losses.
One of the things the class does is it allows people who are willing to take a smaller amount, but don't want to go through, what is a psychological burden. The class action notice will go out, and you will be basically part of the class action unless you opt out of it.
The class action lawyers will use public notices and advertising to alert people to the opportunity. Attorneys are still working to get that August 8th deadline extended, but it's unclear if they'll succeed.
All right, well, happy Thursday, everybody. We're almost to Aloha Friday. I want to take you outside to our first alert radar and satellite. Seeing a few sprinkles out there, but this is not what we're focused on. I want to take you all the way to the eastern Pacific, where we have what was Hurricane Eric. It was a Category 3. It's a tropical storm now. This was a Category 4 storm just offshore of the southern portions of Mexico. And just zooming in a little bit closer, you can see very clearly that strong eye right there, just indicative of how strong it is. The eye wall replacement cycle going on. Of course, this was right around when it was a Category 4 and it weakened to a Category 3 right before it made landfall to the southern portions of Mexico. There was a lot of damage, and we're still seeing some of the videos coming out of there. Of course, this storm is still a tropical storm right now and is going to continue moving off towards the northwest and fall apart, bringing some rainfall to the western portions of Mexico. And I'll give you a closer look at this and our local forecast coming up.
Thank you, Drew. President Trump does not appear to be giving up on diplomacy as he weighs whether to join Israel in its offensive against Iran. Erica Brown reports from the White House.
The White House says President Trump is waiting to make a final decision on whether to attack Iran. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt read a direct quote from the president this afternoon.
Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks.
Multiple sources tell CBS News the president believes disabling Fordow, Iran's most secure nuclear site, is necessary because of the risk of Iran producing nuclear weapons in a relatively short period of time.
Let's be very clear. Iran has all that it needs to achieve a nuclear weapon.
Israel has targeted Fordow, but doesn't have the heavy weaponry the U.S. could provide.
If you talk to Israelis on the street, they would really like to see the Americans come in, but if the Americans don't come in, I think there's confidence that Israel's going to be able to do some damage to that facility on its own.
And what may be an attempt to influence the president's thinking on the conflict, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered remarks in English Thursday saying he trusted President Trump's judgment on Iran.
They strung him along. You don't string along Donald Trump. He knows the game. And I think that we're both committed to making sure that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
Netanyahu made the comments while visiting a hospital in southern Israel that was hit by an Iranian airstrike Thursday, injuring dozens. A large number of Israelis were also hurt in a missile attack on high-rise buildings outside Tel Aviv. It comes as Israel said it struck a heavy water reactor in Iran. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
Today, communities across the country are recognizing Juneteenth, a federal holiday commemorating the end of slavery in the U.S. But some celebrations are being scaled back or canceled. Lee Waldman is in New York with a look at why we are seeing such a change this year.
Organizers say safety issues and mounting resistance to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are making it harder to hold these types of events. The rollback is raising concerns that political backlash is impacting the commemoration of Juneteenth.
In the trying political times we have in the United States today, right, it's important for all of us to understand that history.
The city of Milwaukee, home to one of the nation's longest running Juneteenth Day celebrations, kicked off its festivities Wednesday.
Happy Juneteenth! Juneteenth shows us the way that we should celebrate freedom.
However, communities across the country are canceling or reducing their celebrations because of federal rollbacks on DEI practices and opposition to events celebrating diversity. Robert Bland, an assistant professor of history and Africana studies at the University of Tennessee, says these types of decisions are a part of our nation's history of progressing forward and then taking steps backward.
Obviously, this is deeply connected to our current political moment, and we kind of see the reversal in a number of ways of the gains that kind of came out of the George Floyd protest.
In West Virginia, Republican Governor Patrick Morrisey says state employees will not have a paid day off for the federal holiday, citing financial reasons. In a statement, the American Civil Liberties Union of West Virginia says Morrisey's decision is, quote, just another opportunity to show how little he understands or cares about racism.
Sometimes it is 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, but then you continue the struggle. You continue fighting for history, fighting for rights, fighting for justice for everybody.
While eliminating a federal holiday would require an act of Congress, experts warn that diluting the holiday's celebration is cause for concern that its meaning will be lost. In New York, I'm Lee Waldman.
Ahead on This Is Now, how a statewide shortage of court reporters is affecting criminal trials and appeals. Plus, just in time for summer, the YMCA of Honolulu is helping families keep their keiki safe around the water. Casey Lund has the details in 2 minutes. Welcome back. A shortage of court reporters is holding up criminal trials and appeals statewide. Court reporters transcribe everything said in court to provide official records of proceedings. There are only about half a dozen statewide, and some neighbor islands have none. That's causing a case backlog of about 2 months.
We've been almost 6 months and 3 continuances waiting for the transcript. There are other cases where the transcripts are required as a matter of right. For example, grand jury transcripts. And those cases, there's been delays.
If someone is sitting in custody, they have an absolute right to a speedy trial. And when there's a lack of court reporters who can transcribe a pretrial motion hearing, it pushes back the speedy trial.
It is difficult to convince court reporters from the mainland to move to Hawaii because the starting pay for a Hawaii court reporter is $70,000 versus $110,000 in California. In the meantime, the judiciary says it brought back retired court reporters on a temporary basis to work on transcripts to minimize delays, and also looked into using artificial intelligence to create rough drafts. Well, drowning is the leading cause of death for Hawaii keiki ages 15 and younger. A program at the YMCA teaches kids how to survive a fall into the water. Casey Lund has details on how to sign up.
Aloha from the Nu'uanu YMCA. Fun fact, this is where we learned earlier today on Sunrise, Guy learned to swim. And you know, we live in Hawaii. We live in a place where we're blessed with so much water around us and so many water activities, so much fun to be had. But it's so important that especially the younger kids learn how to be around water safely, and that's what this summer swim program is all about. The first course is July 10th, but registration open today. I want to talk to Kilo again with us from the YMCA. You're the aquatic expert here for the YMCA. And then we've got our awesome keiki volunteers. We've got Noel and Kamale, and then Zach in the water. Zach looking sharp. All right, well, let's walk through another drill here.
All right, so the children are gonna go ahead and slide into the pool. We saw them back float and roll over in our previous segment, and so we're gonna try and put it together for safety. They are going to swim and roll onto their back. And then when they're on their back, they'll rest for a couple of seconds and then roll onto their belly and continue swimming. And that is to mimic what they would do if they needed to find a place for safety or just rest in the water.
We got some pretty good swimmers here.
We do, we do.
Yeah. Hey, I want to ask, and you know, Zach's been so awesome. We want to give him a big shout out. It seems like he has a real good connection with the kids. And those are the kinds of people that you're looking for the swim instructors and lifeguard programs. And that creates this really safe and friendly and fun environment for these kids to learn in, right?
Yes, absolutely. If you are good with kids and have a desire to be helpful, that's really all we're looking for, just to start getting you into the water and getting you certified.
Yeah, we can train the rest, right?
Yes.
It's about being a good person and wanting to help kids. So run us through the details, and we can try and put them up on the screens. Because there's a lot going on here. You don't have to name all the dates of the courses. The first one, July 10th. These are the different times in the evening, trying to make it easy for parents, right?
Yes, we want to make it easy for parents. So anywhere between, I believe, 4:30 to around 6 would be their start time. It's an hour swim lesson, 5 consecutive days. And we will be offering it at our 5 locations, Mililani, Kaimaki, Leeward, Windward, and here at Nu'uanu.
Very good. And you know, the other thing to be mentioned is that the Department of Health is providing some funding for this.
Absolutely.
And that's really great. Part of a big statewide initiative to make sure Hawaii's keiki are able to swim safely, able to at least be around the pool, and you don't have to worry about them. You should always be worried about them, but making sure they have the skills to float, to get themselves out of the water, hugely important. That's what the Y will help you do for free. If you sign up. Registration, you can find the link online at hawaiinewsnow.com. We'll send things back into the studio for now.
Hey, thanks, Casey. Stick around. Coming up after the break, we've got your first alert forecast. We'll take you island by island and talk about how we're expecting breezy trades this weekend.
weather with Drew Davis.
All right, well, happy Thursday, everybody. We're almost to Aloha Friday, almost to the weekend. You can feel it. We've got a really nice weekend in store. It's going to be a little bit breezy, however. Next couple of days, today and tomorrow, typical trade winds a little bit weaker as we're going into Friday, and a few showers out there. Most of those will be overnight. Here's your island by island forecast for your Aloha Friday. Starting out, as always, over on the Garden Isle, we're going to be seeing a few scattered showers, mostly in the morning over on Kauai. And again, some breezy conditions are expected, but you'll notice as we're going down the island chain, overall, our winds are going to be a little bit weaker tomorrow. 10 to 15 miles per hour on Kauai and Oahu. Some morning showers. Most of those winds will be the strongest during the afternoon. Like I mentioned, a few showers are possible over the windward portions of each island, but overall, it's going to be relatively dry and mostly sunny out there going forward. Maui County, mostly sunny. Easterlies between 10 to 15 miles per hour. Moving over to Maui, 88 in Kahului, 85 in Kihei. Breezy out there in some spots on the Valley Isle. 83 in Kailua Kona. A little bit cooler over in Captain Cook. Maybe some showers over there and clouds cooling them off. 84 in Hilo. Scattered morning showers and mostly cloudy conditions. A little bit weaker winds over the eastern portions of Hawaii Island. And east-northeasterlies between 5 to 15 miles per hour over on the northern part. Still a little bit breezy in some spots. You can see in our first alert windcast as we're going forward throughout the rest of this afternoon between 10 to 15 miles per hour for sustained winds. A little bit breezier over in Kahului. And then going into tomorrow afternoon, this is tomorrow morning around 2 a.m. You're seeing a few areas still breezy for the overnight, but we're going to once again see those winds ramp back up in the afternoon. Breezy trade winds sticking around. These are going to get much stronger as we're going into Saturday and Sunday. We will be seeing some gusty conditions expected. Our first alert futurecast going forward, really not much to talk about. Some clouds, some showers drying out throughout each afternoon, and then we're also going to be seeing showers overnight, especially over windward and Mauka locations. It's a very summer-like pattern here in Hawaii. We're really not seeing much of a change compared to what we typically see for this time of year. North-facing shores around 0 to 2 feet, mostly flat out there. West-facing shores small. South-facing shores around 3 to 5. A minor boost to south swell. That's going to peak. It's peaking today. It'll be on the decline as we're going into the weekend. East-facing shores rough and choppy out there around 4 to 6 feet. Again, because of those breezy trades. And here's just a quick look at our first alert 7-day forecast. Of course, today is Junth. Thursday and Friday, sunny and breezy out there. Slightly weaker winds out there today and tomorrow. Breezy again as we're going into the weekend. We might be seeing some wind gusts getting closer to 30 miles per hour. And of course, you can always look at the current wind speeds wherever you're at on the H&N First Alert Weather app.
Thank you, Drew. Well, instead of cream, a dairy farm in England is offering cuddles with their cows to help turn a profit. We have that story coming up in today's Good News Now. orphan baby llama named Miguelito found an unexpected home at a police station in Chile. Police found the animal when he was just 5 days old while visiting a local herder family. When his mother died during birth and when no one else in the community could foster him, the station decided to take him in. His new family bottle feeds Miguelito, who is now 3 months old. The llama even goes on rounds and is present during shifts at the office.
I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah. Well, floods and food prices have pushed a dairy farm down an unusual path to turn a profit.
One that has cows doing more mingling than milking. Tina Kraus has the story from London.
Fiona Wilson loves feeding her cows on a farm in England that has been in her family for generations.
We started off as a dairy farm, basically from the early 1970s when my dad bought this farm. So basically all my life I milked cows.
But with the economy squeezing profits, Fiona's farm is trading cream for cuddles.
You can just kind of sink in, you know?
Inviting visitors to snuggle up with cows that are now more pampered than productive.
They are so gentle, just like big dogs. It's really special.
For $125, guests get up to 4 hours of bonding time, an experience they say is quite moving.
Really warm, really supportive. She just loves the cuddle, you can just tell, you know, as you're stroking her.
Farmers say it took about 6 months to teach cows how to lay down and enjoy the love.
When they come in here, they know what's going to happen. As you can see, they like being pampered.
It's like really connecting.
What began as a creative pivot to survive has grown into something bigger. Visitors enjoy a PostCuddle Safari, a journey that helps fund a conservation project protecting local wildlife. A family farm proving that resourcefulness and a lot of heart can lead to big returns for everyone. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.